Hey, good people, this is your NI Dom, back with another YouTube reflection, and this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So, I'm getting ready to close the series surrounding the eclipse. The eclipse is a long-form reflection that I did on my podcast, Your NI Dom, where I am talking about what sends me into some shadow-like behaviors. It's where the world gets very dark and confusing and God, there's so many things. It's just not the best representation of myself. And I am wrestling with, because I don't study the shadow. I don't consider myself an expert in MBTI or the Enneagram, which are the two theories I use. I don't consider myself an expert in those areas, but I do feel I'm proficient in them to talk about it. I do not feel proficient about the shadow stack. So this is new territory. And I usually come back to personality theory when I've experienced some kind of stress in my life, a stress that I cannot figure out what to do. So my NITE, let's go learn, and or my TE, and then I go back to personality theory, and there's something new for me to tackle. So I guess how do I say it? I have finally come to the place of being ready to tackle my shadow functions. And it is something that I teased out in December of last year, 7 months ago. But I picked it up in an episode called The Shadow Work, and then I put it down. And so I picked it back up yesterday in this episode called The Eclipse. I'm here with it this morning. And as I move about on my break from the podcast, because I take a break in July and January, as I move about in my break, I want to spend more time thinking about it. I will never be a master of this system because I'm investing in learning to master other things in the world. But I do want to become proficient in understanding the shadow functions and really what they do. And so I found an article. I'm going to tweet it out. If I were in the long form reflection, I would read it to you because there are a lot of goodies in it. But what I just want to do in this final episode, this final reflection for the eclipse episode is I'd like to just talk about some highlights about the shadow functions and to leave myself with an assignment on what I'm going to do over the break. And I hope I can give you one as well, okay? If you're new to this project, this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. I do so by using personality theory. The two theories I use the most are the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. Pushing those two systems together, I identify as an INTJ 8. I have a number of other disclaimers that I give in the long form reflection on the podcast. But for the sake of YouTube, the short reflection, I just want to let you know this project is unedited and is unscripted. To know more about it or me, feel free to go to the podcast, Your NI Dom, or my website, yournidom.wordpress.com. So last night, I was in a all day. I was in a funk. Actually, last 2 weeks I've been in a funk, but yesterday was like the tip of the iceberg. It was a holiday. It was the 4th of July for the United States, our Independence Day. And I spent it in a funk, but it was a progressive funk because in the past, it would have been a really bad funk. So I'm really, really proud that the funk wasn't as funky as in the past. So go listen to other episodes. But when I did that reflection at the end of the day, I was contending with the fact that there's something happening in my unconscious that I'm not dealing with. And I think because I'm not dealing with it, it is what's causing these funky days, if you will. It's causing the funk. And so if I really, really want to get out ahead of the funk in the future, I'm going to have to go into the shadow and do some work. So I had done an episode in December of last year called Shadow Work. It was my first time really trying to pick up that shadow concept. I think I did okay, but I didn't exhaust it, which if you follow my project, you know I have to revisit a thing several times before I really, really get it. Like it becomes not just in my head, but in my heart and in my body. I am nowhere near the heart and body understanding of the shadow. I'm still trying to get my head to understand it. So I didn't finish that episode, but I didn't finish that reflection. But I got to the end of the time allotted, and I hadn't given an assignment. I usually end the episode with an assignment. And so I did 2 other episodes for podcast for YouTube. One I called Confronting My Shadow Functions, and the second one called My Trickster Function, which is 7. So I am here to try to wrap it all up. And I want to give you an assignment, and I want to deal with this article, okay? So the article basically says that we need all 8 of those functions are active. We all are governed by these archetypes. This hero archetype, this mother, father, nurturing archetype, this playful child archetype, this animus, which I don't understand that. Hold on, I need to go look that up. Okay, I'm back. Whoa. I'm not going to have any answers here, but this has just opened up some things in my mind that I need to process, that I'll be processing on my break in July. But anywho, so I looked up for anima. I looked up first animus, and I didn't really like the definition. It was like a bias against, a doorway to something unconscious, something disdainful. And when I think about my inferior function, I'm an INTJ, and I don't feel disdain towards my SE. There's only one part of my SE that I feel disdain for, but maybe. So then I looked up I went inside the definition, and some dictionaries give you multiple definitions. So one of the definitions for animus was the masculine energy of a woman, of a female, something like that. So something said, look up anima, and that's the feminine energy for a masculine role. And so that makes me think, am I not embracing my masculine energy? And damn, that is something I think there's some truth here. So while I'm studying the shadow, I need to really be looking at that inferior function, which I found an article that I'm going to tweet that said it is a doorway to the unconscious. So if I'm repressing the masculine side of me, whoa, all I can say is whoa. That's all I can say right now. I'm so sorry. I need to sit with that. Like, I literally just took that in. And I think that's true. And I think you guys know, if you follow the project, I've just over the last year begun to say out loud in a joking way, but it's not really funny. It is serious. But in a joking way, I talk about not having a sexual appetite. And I've been challenged by that because I've had people tell me, no, you just haven't found your type of sex. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, if I don't enjoy it, I don't want to say I don't enjoy it, but there's something about it that I don't enjoy. And so then I'm not going to go out and experiment to find out the type that I do enjoy. It's counterintuitive, if you ask me. But what if sex for me connects me to my masculine self? And I'm getting some FI sensations. I'm gonna put this down. Like, I'm gonna just shut this down because I gotta process this privately. I think I might be onto something. So anyway, I'm feeling like weepy. So that means when I get weepy, that means I've stumbled onto some truth. So anyway, I think I'm done. I think I've hit the end of the internet, because I think that's really where I need to be. And I'm going to continue to study those other functions in the shadow, because they said the shadow functions can be bad and good, but it's all in service of our ego, right? And so I'm like, well, why do I need to fight this for my dominant function or my auxiliary function? But what if I'm feeling so emotional right now, but what if it isn't about my dominant? What if it's about me fighting to integrate the masculine side of me? And I've not been allowed to do that. Oh my God. Woo! I have just hit a nerve. So I'm going to end it here because I literally just want to cry. I am overwhelmed with grief. Hold on a second. I'm going to hit the pause button. And I think what's so fascinating about it is that in my work, I don't have a problem with it. That dominant side comes out, and like I always say, it's a beast. But in my personal self, in my personal life, I've pushed that part of me back. And I suspect it's because it is a side that reminds me of my dad. And because my dad was abusive to my person, and my person has always treated that as something bad, I was taught that that is a part of me. So I'm just 53 and I'm just now integrating SC, like even knowing how to take care of my, taking pleasure in taking care of my physical space and enjoying physical sensations, like learning. And I think what I think at the end of the day, I think my inferior SE has allowed me to be in spaces that I always thought like my FI was being drowned out by my TE, but that's not completely true. It's that my SE has, the masculine part of my SE has been stripped out, and it has made me more vulnerable than I need to be. And so oftentimes people say, well, how are you a type 8? Which I don't understand why people question why INTJs can't be 8. Like why? Our ego function has SE, and we have a dominant side. But I have been rendered a social 8, a subtype. And I wonder if that rendering is from trauma. I don't know. I don't know. But we have a lot to process. So I think that this thing that I'm battling with my family and my sister, I've come to terms. I woke up. I started this series, the YouTube series, by saying I woke up with something that I would not have been able to wake up with had I not done the long, firm reflection last night called the Eclipse. And I woke up this morning saying, I'm frustrated with the world because of something that is about me. And I think what I'm going to walk away from this reflection is that I have been distanced from my masculine side, and I'm going to have to sit with that. And that's the eclipse. That is something that is getting in the way of me as the observer on an object. It's my, I don't even know the word, my, it is a barrier that prevents me from accessing my dominant side. And I think I know a couple of places where that has been reinforced, but I want to sit with that a little more. So that's the barrier. That's the eclipse. And I think that when that eclipse happens and it prevents me from accessing the masculine side of me, then my shadow function is all going and it's wreaking havoc, which is why, I mean, there's so much more that I want to say, but I need to unpack it so that I just need you. More than likely, it's going to come out in season 9. Okay, so season 9 will be out in August, the beginning of August, 2024. Please come back for that on the podcast. You're at IDOM, and I'm going to give you an assignment. I don't know if you are a person that really follows Myers-Briggs, but I'm going to go ask you to learn what your inferior function is. What's fourth? And then ask yourself, what could be happening in your unconscious that's fighting for you to have greater access to that inferior function? I think that this is a perfect window to identify some areas that could be blocking us as we are on this road to self-actualizing. And I'm assuming that if you follow me, that you value self-actualization as I do. So go find out what is blocking you from that inferior function, and how do your shadow functions wreak havoc as a result of that. It's more, so much to say, so much more to say. But for now, I'm going to say it has totally been an awesome season. I thank you for journeying with me as I mourn the loss of my person, and I now move into a new world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will be back for a season 9 in August. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Until I come back, be well. Bye.